Vietnam may be an outstanding country during the times of dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. Many people call it exploit, but the so-called exploit is a result of tireless efforts of the leaders of the party, the state, the sectors and the entire Vietnamese people. It isn't final victory, but Vietnam has divided into different stages, and won on each one of stages of this day with the spirit of fighting against COVID like fighting against enemies. This has been receiving much of global praises when Vietnamese healthcare system isn't modern with its tight budget, but its anti-epidemic effect of COVID-19 is highly appreciated. Deputy Prime Minister DịCH said in a statement, "The lives of Vietnamese people have currently been the dream of those from many countries all over the world." The first thing is the proactive participation of the political system and the drastic direction of the party and the state. From the beginning, Vietnam has chosen the right attitude to deal with the pandemic, to be determined without neglects and subjectivity. Party General Secretary and President Nguyen Phu Trong on March 30, 2020 called on all people across the country to stay united before the danger of epidemic enemies. Responding to an appeal, Vietnamese people are always in attitudes toward each citizen being a soldier with willingness of fighting against the epidemic in all aspects and a belief to join hands with the party and the state. Vietnam is also the first country in the world to apply health declaration required with all immigrants from the epidemic areas. At the time of the epidemic outbreak, the state has also enforced measures to deal with it promptly by quarantine, social distancing. International organizations and friends later on assessed that Vietnamese measures are very true, very early, very resolute and the most effective economics, because our total costs for fighting against the epidemic until today are very low compared to many countries. We have a group of the white-shirted soldiers in the front line against the epidemic, with day-to-night efforts of not hesitating to get infected and finding the best treatment for each COVID-infected patient. Thanks to enthusiasm of doctors and nurses, after over 6 months of the epidemic, Vietnam has cured 326 cases out of 349 ones, which is worthy. Vietnam hasn't had no COVID-19 deaths. It can be said that it's a pride and is considered as the most successful thing in this anti-epidemic campaign. The People's Army, the People's Police and many other functional forces, especially the military men, have always worked in the spirit of serving the people. Thousands of soldiers were lying in the forest, guarding the borderline, leaving the barracks to the isolated people from rainy days on Tet holidays to sunny summer days like pouring fire. Their gratitude and responsibility have left emotional stories and contributed to the victory in this epidemic. Vietnam has strengthened surveillance with the motto of walking every lane, knocking on every house, to detect, screen the infected people. Quick response teams have been established. Diseases have found in any localities. They have immediately localized the epidemic and treated it in that locality with the support of superior medical staff. Vietnamese people strictly wear masks and sanitize their hands in public places and crowded places to minimize cross-contamination in the community. Enterprises and economic units have voluntarily accepted losses of immediate benefits to join hands with the state in the fight against the epidemic. Despite many difficulties, they are still in the spirit of sharing the difficulties with each other. Some enterprises have applied temporary measures such as giving employees work shifts to reduce salary costs, get to business diversion, to overcome some difficulties for the enterprises and the workers. The media in Vietnam has also contributed to the victory of the fight against COVID. Vietnam has raised slogans of calling upon, encouraging and instructing people to voluntarily follow, such as being at home is patriotic. Being patriotic is to stay at home, or messages from the doctors such as we stay at work for you, please stay home for us. Understanding that spirit, Vietnamese people have joined hands to restrict travel and protect themselves to reduce the burden on the health sector. Besides, the propaganda and foreign information activities have proactively been carried out proactively and synchronously, which create widespread effects and are recognized and highly appreciated by the international community. The last thing is Vietnamese people are very wonderful. That is a compliment and thanks from Deputy Prime Minister DịCH to the whole Vietnamese people after the pandemic. The sacrifices of Vietnamese people are aroused, ready to give rice and clothes to each other during the difficulties. Every citizen, the strata of people according to their ability, those having money to contribute money, those having things to contribute things, those having the power to help, those having the idea to contribute ideas. Many landlords have reduced or exempted rent for workers. Free rice ATMs were invented to help the poor in affliction, or the masks were distributed free of charge in public places. Many agencies, units, organizations, businesses, individuals inside and outside the country, our fellow citizens residing abroad have actively involved in supporting COVID-19 prevention and control with their deep feelings and responsibilities. In the condition of modest national resources, Vietnam, an active and responsible member of the international community, has expressed its deep understanding and sympathy and has been exerting efforts in practical and prompt cooperation with other countries, especially those severely affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Vietnam knows itself, knows us, and knows the complexity and seriousness of the pandemic, so it isn't subjective. Every step was tense for vigilance in extremely drastic ways. When the world hasn't yet prepared, has hesitated to choose between health protection and economic problem, Vietnam has been ready for action. All Vietnam people are unanimous. The government took the people as the root. The team of dedicated doctors and medical humanitarian are everywhere. With these reasons, I believe Vietnam will soon completely win this epidemic. We are proud of this S-shaped country. Please leave your thoughts about our beloved country below the comments.